I think a lot of women have spent years trying to fix themselves when the real issue was that they were unsupported. They thought they needed more discipline, more motivation, more emotional control, more routines, more self improvement, more resilience. But sometimes the problem isn't that a woman is broken or that she needs to be fixed. Sometimes the issue is that she's been carrying too much for too long with little support. And when you're constantly surviving without support, eventually you start believing that something is wrong with you. But here's the thing, what if it isn't, right? What if you don't need fixing? What if you just need support, right? See, the thing is, we have so over pathologized women's stress and women's burnout. Women are often told to improve themselves before anyone actually asks what they're carrying. Yikes. Emotional exhaustion gets mislabeled as laziness, having an attitude, moodiness, weakness, inconsistency. Burnout gets treated like a personal flaw instead of a product of the environment. High functioning women get especially overlooked because they look fine. We don't look like anything is wrong with you. All that kind of foolishness from society. And again, no one even actually bothers to ask what they're carrying or to check in on them. And women of color in particular, the strong black woman trope in particular are expected to be strong and capable and self sufficient without any complaint. And that's more of a systemic cultural issue more than anything else. But sometimes what looks like inconsistency is really a woman trying to function without support. And there's a huge difference there. Now, when nobody names the lack of support, we start blaming ourselves. We start thinking that we are beneath, that we have some sort of internal flaw or our on off switch isn't working properly. No, it has to do with your support system or lack thereof. And when that happens, self improvement can actually become a burden. Something that is meant to actually help us better ourselves can be the thing that causes us more stress, which is it's a messy irony, but it happens. We're all learning. We're all out here trying to do our best. So I'm not saying that to come at you strongly. I'm saying that as just that's how it is in life. There's this constantly trying to do better situation. There's healing work feeling like it's performance. Wellness routines become like pressure. You try to optimize your way out of exhaustion. You're buying all the books, the planners, the journals, the systems. You're always feeling like you're the next project. But see, here's the thing. I really want you to put your thinking caps and listening ears on. There is a massive difference. I'm definitely saying this to myself. There's a massive difference between nurturing growth and constantly treating yourself like you're a problem to solve because you're not. You're not just another problem to solve. You're a human being. You have a heart, you have a soul, you have a mind. You're not a robot. You're not AI. You're a human being with a very complex computer that runs up here 24/7. So ask yourself rather, where have I confused growth with self correction? And those two things can coexist, don't get me wrong, but they have to coexist within a certain balance. Because if there's an imbalance, if you're leaning too heavily into self correction or you're leaning too heavily into growth, there's going to be an imbalance and you're going to feel more stressed out about you feeling less stressed. And it's just a vicious cycle. So definitely find a way to find a balance between both. And when there is this imbalance, that's where women can start to feel so tired, even when they're doing the work, because you can be busy, but not necessarily productive. And there's a difference, big difference between the two. So support changes what discipline feels like. Routines are easier when your nervous system feels safe. Habits are easier when you know you're not carrying everything alone because strong women gang, we have the hardest time asking for help and asking for support. And we definitely need to stop doing that, myself included, and be willing to ask for help when we need it. Decision making is easier when the emotional load is lighter. Does that mean life is going to be perfect? Absolutely not. But it will certainly be a lot more manageable. Rest is easier when you're not constantly bracing, whether it's bracing physically, which we can definitely do. We don't realize just how much we're like gripping our body together. We don't realize we do it very subconsciously, but you're going to start to even feel your body relax, especially from the inside. And support can be practical, it could be emotional, it could be spiritual, it could be relational, it could be any or all of those things. As long as you have stable support, that is really going to help nurture you when it comes to reframing discipline, reframing habits, and how to form habits properly. Here's the big gem of the day, right? Discipline feels easier when it doesn't feel like depletion. Let me say that again one time for the one time, because I know that was for somebody, myself included. Discipline feels easier when it doesn't feel like depletion. And that's why we are in survival mode so much, because we're too structured. We have the one extreme where we're not as structured as we should be. But then there's the other extreme where we're almost too structured, and that's where we get the burnout. That's where we get the lack of motivation. That's where we get the I just want to stay in the bed all day and not go anywhere. So we really have to find that happy middle ground between under discipline and over discipline, and then that support that's in between that we need. So again, we got to ask ourselves, okay, what in my life became more manageable when I stopped doing it alone and I asked for support? And support does not always mean someone is going to save you. I'm just going to be very transparent about that. Sometimes it starts a lot smaller than that. Sometimes it starts with you supporting yourself for starters and being like, you know what? I can do this. I can make this pivot. I can ask for help. Sometimes that support starts with yourself. It really does. And oftentimes we look for support outside of ourselves before we look for support within ourselves. Now, I know you might be thinking, okay, doesn't that just contradict what you just said? No. See, what happens is oftentimes because we're so entangled with our own stuff, we look outside of ourselves and we're like, we just want to grab at the first thing. No, again, there's a fine balance. You need to be able to evaluate yourself and sit with yourself and really understand what you need before you reach out for help. Because if you reach out for help, but you're not able to articulate why, that's going to make it more difficult for the people in your life to support you if they don't really understand what you need and why. So it's important that you're able to articulate that properly. Now, here's what support can actually look like. There might be some things in here that you may not expect with this one. So, someone listening without immediately correcting. And that's if you're on the receiving end or if you're on the giving end, for example. Women in particular are programmed to be fixers because of our emotional, how shall I say, wiring. We just want to fix, we want to nurture. And we have the best of intentions. But sometimes we just need to listen to understand instead of listening to respond so we can really process what someone is telling us. I was actually just in this situation recently with a friend, and this particular person literally cried on my shoulder. It was very unexpected that this person was going to do this, and they even acknowledged it about themselves. And I just held this person and I was like, it's going to be okay. And sometimes that's all it takes. It's all it takes. And then if you get cues that they're open to encouragement, then you go in and encourage. But sometimes that's all you need to do is just hold the person and let them just grieve, let them cry it out, let them vent, right? And that's perfectly fine. Having a safe place to be honest is what creates these emotional cathartic moments because you know you're safe. This person trusted I was a safe person to be around. So they felt vulnerable enough to expose their emotions to me. And I thanked them for that because I appreciated that they trusted me with that part of them. And then practical help, of course, any sort of tips or tools like here, this would be considered practical help where I'm giving you ways to maneuver life a little bit easier, but also letting you know and allowing you and giving you permission to feel human. Clearer boundaries. Yes, definitely clearer boundaries are important because sometimes if you don't spell it out, it's going to go over people's heads, unfortunately. Doesn't mean they're slow, doesn't mean they're dense. It just means that they may not be able to process certain social cues unless somebody tells them very directly and bluntly. Ask for help before crisis. Oh, let me tell you, the amount of fires that are not put out by the time we actually ask for help, child, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. We need to stop. Don't already be having stuff blowing up and explosions and all of this, and then you ask for help. Girl, stop it. Me too. Stop doing that. When you start to feel the bracing, when you start to feel the cringing at yourself, that's when you need to really go into evaluation mode and be like, whoa, this doesn't feel great. I start to feel a fire starting to, work itself up. That's when you need to put a plan in place and follow through, not when it's already exploding all over the place. You've already yelled at your husband, you've already yelled at your kids, yelled at your mom, got angry at your friend. Mm-mm. We want to try to mitigate the friction as much as humanly possible. Don't be afraid to lean into faith, community, trusted friends, therapy, and coaching if appropriate. I will never, ever, 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 ever be the type of person who tells somebody not to go to therapy, not to get counseling, not to get coaching. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on the life coaching mentorship side, not hardly. I'm saying that because sometimes you need somebody who can have an unbiased view of what's going on. We love our families down to the ground, especially supportive families. I know not everybody has that. So I'm speaking more so to people who have very supportive families. We absolutely love the heck out of them, but sometimes because they're family and they have an emotional attachment to us, they may not always be able to be as objective as they could be if they were an unbiased party. And again, they can't help that because they're your family, right? So that's not a flaw of theirs. That's just something that you have to maneuver around when you're thinking about the kind of support that you need. Think about routines that support your actual life. Routines that support your actual life and that actually make sense. Not routines that look aesthetic, not routines that look good for Instagram, but routines that are actually practical. And then for those of us who are Christians, use God's grace as support, not pressure. He talks about making the yoke light, making it easy. That's what you want. You don't want to feel this pressure because you're a Christian and you feel like you have to have everything together. No, you don't. No, you don't. Actually, it's quite the opposite. God gives us the guidebook. He gives us the manual to life, if you will, where He's like, this is how you can do this. Trust me. I'm going to send you another comforter. He gives us the plan right there. We just have to be willing to follow it. Now, support from your own systems is important, not just people, which I kind of addressed a moment ago. Support from within yourself is going to be the most pivotal that it's ever been because we're always going to be our harshest critic all day, every day. All day, every day, we're going to be our harshest critic. So support isn't weakness. I just want to put that out there and scream it from the rooftops. Support is not weakness. Support is structure. Support is a part of that gentle structure that we all need to maintain our sanity, for one, especially in this crazy world. So ask yourself, what type of support do I actually need in this season? Do I need more self support? Do I need more support from my family? Do I need more support from my colleagues, my friends? Do I need support from a therapist or a coach or a counselor or mentor of some sort? You have to evaluate and decide that for yourself. No one can decide that for you. And this is where we need to be really honest about the type of strength that we've been praising. Because sometimes when we think we're praising strength, we're really just praising charging through burnout, or really not charging through, really just living in burnout and steeping in it like a tea bag, right? So strength was never ever supposed to mean doing everything alone. That is a myth. That is a lie. There's nothing true or stable about that. Strong women still need care. You know that saying, check in on your strong friends? Yeah, do that. Do that. Because oftentimes we're shouldering a lot more than you think we are, and we don't get a chance to actually put our shoulders down. You know, we look like, what's that so called deity Atlas, where he's holding the world on top of his shoulders? That's how it feels. But capable women still need rest. Wise women still need community. Spiritual women still need support. Being needed all the time can be exhausting, but at the same time, resilience should not require isolation. Again, that fine balance between going into turtle mode and knowing when to come out of turtle mode and be like, I need support, I need help. Being strong doesn't mean that you are designed to be unsupported. It doesn't. If anything, you require more support because you are strong, if anything. So ask, what am I carrying that's not mine? Where do I need support? Not another strategy, not another self help book, not another journal. Name one thing that you can truly simplify in your life. It doesn't have to be some big, great, grandiose thing. It can be something very small, but very impactful. See where you can allow yourself to receive help without over explaining. I am the over explaining queen. Those who know me will know. I will have a whole paragraph explaining because I don't want to be misunderstood by people. But sometimes you just have to say what you got to say and be done with it. And if people ask you for more clarity or more context, then you can go into more. But sometimes you just need to give it and give it straight. Stop making your exhaustion a character flaw. Stop doing it. It's not a character flaw. You are a human being. And I know you're going to be so over me saying it, but you're going to hear that theme a lot through my content about you being a human being. And I'm a human being. And we're all just trying to figure this out. Build routines that reduce pressure instead of adding more pressure. If that means you're less busy one day, the world is not going to fall apart. I promise. It's not. The world is still going to keep spinning on its axes if you decide, you know what? I need a low key day. I promise you, on everything I love, the world will keep on turning. I think some women are exhausted because they've been trying to heal, to grow, to work, to serve, to lead, to nurture, and to rebuild without enough support, being undersupported. And when that happens long enough, after you start to normalize it, until you can't, you start to feel like something is wrong with you, but maybe you're not broken. Maybe you're just tired. You're overwhelmed. You're carrying too much. Maybe you have been trying to become more disciplined when actually what you needed was more support, more grace, more honesty, and more room to be a human being. So, no, I don't believe every woman needs fixing. Some women just need support. And to the people who mean well, I know you guys mean so well, but sometimes we just need a listening ear and literally a shoulder to cry on and prayer. That's it. We don't need to be fixed. We just need to be listened to. And that's really it. And for us, maybe giving ourselves permission to receive that support is one of the most faithful and healthy, sustainable things that you can do. And it's not a one time thing. This is something you're going to have to do throughout your life or throughout different periods of your life. But that's a part of growth. That's where you get stability. That's where you get to really learn and know yourself during this process. So, if this conversation resonated with you, I would love to hear from you in the comments. What in your life have you been trying to fix yourself when in reality, you may have actually just needed support? And if you're rebuilding after burnout, grief, or life disruption, I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button so you can be included in more conversations like this. And as I mentioned last video, there will be the podcast Rooted Conversations with Tabitha Howard that will be coming up very soon. And I will be dropping the link in the description box as well for you to take a listen for those of you who are more of my auditory friendly on the go women, because I know we are busy and here, there, and everywhere. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for being here. I have started to see some incredible growth on the back end of the channel, which means this content is reaching the right people. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you, YouTube. And that's really all that I want. And the same thing with the podcast. Once it gets published, same thing. I want people to be able to hear the sound of my voice over the airwaves and realize that they're not alone, realize that other people are dealing with the exact same things, but there's ways to manage what we're going through and it'll be okay. It may not feel like it'll be okay, but it will be okay. So I just want to say thank you to all the new subscribers and new eyes that have found this channel. And I would love for you to stick around because this is a safe space. And I want the safe space to reach far and wide, even beyond anything I could ever imagine, and really be impactful to the people who need the encouragement and who need the safe space. So, with that being said, I'll see y'all next time. Peace.